What if the greatest thing she ever did was walk away from you? Sounds impossible, doesn't it? But stay with me because by the end of this, you'll understand why the day she thought she won was actually the day your empire began. The hardest part isn't losing someone you loved. The hardest part is waking up the next morning and realizing the person you imagined spending your future with is no longer there. Your phone feels heavier than ever. Every notification makes your heart race. Every memory plays like a movie you never wanted to watch again. You ask yourself the same question over and over: what did I do wrong? You replay every conversation, every mistake, every moment you wish you could change. And slowly, without realizing it, you stop living in today because you're trapped in yesterday. But here's the truth that changes everything. Sometimes life removes people because they no longer fit the person you're becoming. Think about that for a second. Not because you weren't enough, not because your story is over, but because your next chapter requires a stronger version of you. Most people respond to heartbreak by chasing, they send another message, they ask for another chance, they promise they'll change, they beg to be chosen again. Why? Because losing someone feels like losing your own identity, but confidence doesn't beg. Self respect doesn't negotiate its worth, and a man with a purpose doesn't abandon his future trying to convince someone to see his value. The day she walked away, she may have believed she left behind just another man. She didn't know she had just awakened someone who was about to rebuild his entire life. Pain has a strange way of introducing you to the strongest version of yourself. When life is comfortable, most people stay the same. They settle. They postpone their dreams. They wait for the perfect moment. But heartbreak has a way of destroying comfort. It forces you to ask difficult questions. Who am I without this relationship? What kind of man do I really want to become? What have I been neglecting while I was focused on someone else? Those questions hurt, but they also become the foundation of your comeback. Imagine two men standing in exactly the same situation. Both were left. Both felt rejected. Both had every reason to quit. The first man spends months checking her social media, waiting for a text that never comes, allowing one chapter of his life to define his entire future. The second man cries too. He feels the same pain. But one morning, he makes a different decision. He closes the conversation. He puts down the phone. He walks into the gym. He starts reading again. He works longer on his goals. He reconnects with his purpose. Every single day, he chooses growth instead of obsession. Months later, they are no longer the same men, not because time healed them, because their choices transformed them. Never underestimate what one disciplined decision repeated every day can do for your future. You don't become powerful overnight. You become powerful every time you refuse to let pain make your decisions. Every workout, every book, every new skill, every early morning, every moment you choose progress instead of self pity is another brick in the empire you're building. One day you'll look back and realize something incredible. She didn't destroy your future, she introduced you to it. And maybe, just maybe, losing the relationship was the price you had to pay to finally discover your true worth. Your comeback begins the moment you stop chasing and start becoming. There comes a moment in every person's life when reality hits harder than any words ever could. It's not always immediate. Sometimes it takes weeks, sometimes months, and sometimes even years. But eventually, people begin to understand the value of what they once had. The strange thing about human nature is this: we often notice someone's absence long after we've ignored their presence. When she decided to walk away, she may have believed she was leaving behind someone ordinary. She may have thought another relationship would make her happier. She may have assumed you'd always be there if things didn't work out. After all, many people mistake loyalty for weakness and consistency for something that can never disappear. But life has a way of teaching lessons that words never can. Think about a beautiful sunrise. Most people don't stop to appreciate it because they believe another one will come tomorrow. Yet when the skies stay dark for days, suddenly everyone misses the light they once ignored. People rarely appreciate certainty. They appreciate what becomes rare. That's why your greatest mistake after being left would be trying to convince someone of your value. Real value never argues, it never chases approval, it simply exists. If you spend your days explaining why you're a good man, you've already forgotten what makes a good man valuable. Your character speaks louder than your promises. Your discipline speaks louder than your emotions. Your actions speak louder than your words. Imagine a man who spends every day sending long emotional messages, trying to prove how much he cares. Compare him to another man who quietly accepts reality, respects himself, continues building his future, and never abandons his purpose. Who leaves a stronger impression? The answer is obvious. Strength is quiet, desperation is loud. Many people don't realize what they've lost until they're forced to experience life without it. When your daily presence disappears, when your kindness is no longer available, when your encouragement is gone, when your calm energy is missing, that's when comparisons begin to happen naturally, not because you asked for them. Because reality creates them, this isn't something you should wait around hoping for. In fact, the moment you start living just to make someone regret losing you, you've handed them control over your happiness again. Don't build your future around someone else's regret. Build it around your own potential. Every hour you spend improving yourself increases your value far more than an hour spent trying to change someone else's opinion. Ride more, train harder, build your career, develop your confidence, travel, learn new skills, become someone whose life keeps expanding regardless of who stays or leaves. That's what kings do. A king isn't defined by who chooses him, he's defined by what he builds. And here's what many people never understand until it's too late. When someone loses a man with purpose, integrity, emotional stability, and unwavering self respect, replacing his presence is far more difficult than replacing his position. Anyone can fill a seat, very few can replace the person who earned it. So don't waste your energy wondering if she finally understands your worth. Keep becoming the kind of man whose value is impossible to overlook. One day, whether she realizes it or not won't matter nearly as much as the man you've become, because she may have thought she lost an option, but in reality, she lost a king while you kept building your empire. Pain has a choice waiting for every one of us. It can either become the chain that keeps you trapped in yesterday, or it can become the fire that forges the strongest version of who you're meant to be. Most people think heartbreak is the end of the story. They see it as proof they weren't enough. They spend their days asking questions that have no answers. Why wasn't I chosen? Why did this happen to me? Will I ever be enough? And while they're searching for explanations, life keeps moving without them. But the men who create extraordinary comebacks ask a completely different question. What can this pain teach me? That one question changes everything. Because pain isn't your enemy. Wasted pain is think about every great success story you've ever admired, behind every confident person, behind every successful entrepreneur, behind every disciplined athlete, behind every respected leader. There was a season when life forced them to choose between quitting and growing. Nobody applauds you during those moments. Nobody sees the lonely mornings. Nobody notices the nights when you're fighting your own thoughts. Nobody congratulates you for getting out of bed when your heart still feels broken, yet those invisible victories become the foundation of visible success. Imagine a man standing in front of a mirror after the relationship ends. He barely recognizes himself. He's exhausted. He's disappointed. He's questioning everything. At that moment, he has two paths. The first path is familiar. He can stay home, replay old conversations, check her social media every hour, compare himself to the other man, and slowly lose confidence with every passing day. The second path is much harder. He deletes distractions. He joins a gym. He starts waking up earlier. He reads books instead of old messages. He learns new skills. He works harder than ever before. He begins saving money instead of spending it trying to escape his emotions. He builds discipline one day at a time. None of these choices erase the pain immediately, but every single one gives that pain a purpose. That's the difference. Heartbreak doesn't have to destroy your future, it can finance it. Every drop of disappointment can become fuel if you refuse to let it become an excuse. When you're lifting weights and every muscle burns, you're not just building strength, you're teaching yourself that discomfort doesn't last forever. When you're studying while everyone else is making excuses, you're building confidence that no relationship can ever give you. When you're working toward your dreams, you're creating a future that doesn't depend on anyone choosing you, because here's the truth: the greatest comeback never starts with another relationship. It starts with rebuilding your relationship with yourself. The confidence you gain from discipline lasts longer than the confidence you borrow from someone's attention. The respect you earn through hard work is stronger than the approval you chase from other people. One day you'll realize something remarkable. The breakup that almost broke you became the reason you finally built the body you wanted, the career you dreamed about, the financial freedom you postponed, the mindset you never thought you could develop, the peace you searched for in someone else, you eventually found within yourself. And then something unexpected happens. You stop measuring your success by whether she comes back because your life has become so full, so meaningful, so driven by purpose that you no longer need the past to validate your future. That's when you understand the true meaning of a comeback. You didn't just survive the pain, you turned it into the foundation of your empire. One of the greatest misunderstandings people have after heartbreak is believing they have to say one more thing, one more message, one more explanation, one more apology, one more chance to prove themselves. But here's what life quietly teaches: the more you chase someone who has already made a decision, the further away you move from yourself. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is often the first sign that you've finally chosen your own peace over your desperation. Think about a river. The louder it crashes against the rocks, the more energy it loses fighting what it cannot change. But the deepest water, the strongest current, often moves almost silently. Real strength works the same way. The strongest people don't need to announce their value every day. They simply live it. After a breakup, emotions will tempt you to react. You'll want to ask questions that may never have satisfying answers. You'll want to explain how much you cared. You'll want them to understand your side of the story, and maybe, just maybe, you'll even convince yourself that one more conversation will fix everything. But ask yourself this: if someone truly wanted to stay, would convincing them be necessary? The answer hurts. Because love should never require you to abandon your dignity. Imagine two different endings to the same story. The first man refuses to let go. Every few days, he sends another message. He checks whether she's online. He searches for hidden meanings in every social media post. His entire emotional state depends on whether she notices him without realizing it. He's giving away his power one message at a time. Now imagine another man. He feels the same heartbreak. He cries, he misses her, he remembers the good moments, but instead of reacting emotionally, he chooses discipline over impulse. When he wants to send a text, he goes for a run. When he feels lonely, he works on his goals. When his mind wants to revisit the past, he creates something for his future. His silence isn't punishment, his silence is healing. And healing always speaks louder than begging. Here's something many people never understand until much later. Silence creates space, not just space between two people, space inside yourself, space to think clearly, space to rediscover who you were before you allowed someone else's choices to define your happiness. For the first time in months, maybe years, you're no longer chasing approval, you're chasing growth. That's where respect begins, not because someone else suddenly notices, but because you finally notice yourself. You begin keeping promises to yourself again. You wake up when you said you would. You finish what you started. You stop making excuses. Every small promise you keep rebuilds the confidence heartbreak tried to steal. And confidence built from discipline is far stronger than confidence built from attention. Ironically, people often notice your value only after you stop trying to convince them of it, not because silence is a strategy. But because genuine confidence doesn't demand recognition, it naturally earns it. So don't measure your progress by whether she reaches out. Measure it by something far more important. Are you becoming calmer, stronger, more disciplined, more focused, more peaceful? Because that's the comeback that lasts. Whether she looks back or never does, your mission remains the same. Protect your energy, protect your future, protect the man you're becoming. Because sometimes the loudest statement you'll ever make is the silence that proves you've finally chosen yourself. There comes a point in every comeback where your life stops revolving around what happened and starts revolving around what you're building. That is the moment everything changes, because an empire is never built by staring at ruins. It's built by laying one brick at a time. Many people believe success is one big moment, one promotion, one business, one relationship, one opportunity. But real success is much quieter than that. It's choosing discipline on the days when motivation disappears. It's waking up early when nobody is watching. It's keeping promises to yourself when breaking them would be easier. It's becoming the kind of person your future depends on. After heartbreak, it's easy to make someone else the center of your story. Every decision becomes connected to them. You wonder if they're thinking about you. You wonder if they've moved on. You wonder if they'll ever regret their decision. But here's the truth: the more time you spend watching someone else's life, the less time you spend creating your own. Ask yourself this: if you invested the same amount of energy into your dreams that you've invested into your heartbreak, how different would your life look a year from now? Think about it. Every hour spent overthinking could become an hour learning a valuable skill. Every sleepless night could become another step toward financial freedom. Every emotional setback could become another reason to improve your health, your confidence, your mindset, and your future. That's how empires are built, not through luck, through consistency. Picture a man who spends the next 5 years hoping someone comes back. His world never grows, his conversations never change. His dreams remain unfinished because his attention is trapped in the past. Now, picture another man. He accepts the pain, then he gets to work. He starts a business, he earns new qualifications, he strengthens his body. He builds meaningful friendships. He travels. He develops leadership. He learns to enjoy his own company. 5 years later, both men experienced the same heartbreak, but only one built a future. The difference wasn't talent. The difference was direction. Your life expands in the direction of your focus. If your focus stays on loss, your world becomes smaller. If your focus moves toward purpose, your world becomes bigger every single day. And here's something remarkable: as your life improves, your standards improve too. You stop accepting disrespect because you've learned your worth. You stop begging for attention because your purpose gives you confidence. You stop fearing loneliness because you've built a life that fulfills you. Suddenly, you're no longer looking for someone to complete you. You're looking for someone who complements the life you've already created. That's a completely different mindset. A king doesn't build an empire hoping one person notices. He builds it because excellence has become his identity. Whether people applaud him or ignore him, he continues building. Whether someone stays or leaves, he continues growing. Whether yesterday was painful or peaceful, he continues moving forward. That kind of consistency creates a life no breakup can destroy. One day, you'll wake up and realize something incredible. The dreams that once seemed impossible have become your reality. The confidence you wish for now feels natural. The peace you search for in another person now lives inside you. And you'll smile, not because someone came back, but because you finally came back to yourself. That's when you realize you didn't just survive heartbreak, you built an empire that your past can never take away. As your journey continues, something remarkable begins to happen. The pain that once controlled your mornings no longer has the same power. The memories that once kept you awake become quieter. The questions that once consumed your mind slowly fade into the background. Not because you forgot what happened, but because you've become someone who is no longer defined by it, and that is the greatest comeback anyone can experience. Many people spend years chasing one goal after a breakup. I hope they regret leaving. I hope they realize what they lost. I hope they come back and apologize. At first, those thoughts feel understandable. When you've been hurt, you naturally want justice. You want acknowledgement. You want proof that your love mattered. But if your happiness depends on someone else's regret, you're still giving them control over your future. Real freedom begins when you no longer need that proof. Think about a tree. It doesn't grow taller because someone is watching it. It doesn't produce fruit because someone finally appreciates it. It grows because growing is its nature. That is the mindset you must develop. Don't improve yourself so someone notices. Improve yourself because excellence becomes who you are. Imagine meeting the version of yourself from 1 year ago, the man who was heartbroken, the man who doubted his value, the man who thought his life was over because one person walked away. What would you tell him? You'd probably smile. You'd place a hand on his shoulder and say, "Keep going. You have no idea what's waiting for you." Because now you understand something he couldn't see. The breakup wasn't your destination, it was your turning point. Every challenge you've overcome has added something valuable to your character: patience, discipline, wisdom, emotional control, confidence that isn't based on compliments, self respect that doesn't disappear when someone rejects you. Those qualities can't be bought, they are earned through struggle, and once you've earned them, no one can take them away. One day, life may surprise you. You might cross paths with someone from your past. Maybe it's her. Maybe it's someone else who once underestimated you. They'll notice the difference immediately, not because you're trying to impress them, but because genuine growth is impossible to hide. Your posture changes, your conversations change, your standards change, your energy changes. You no longer carry the weight of needing approval. You carry the quiet confidence of someone who knows exactly who they are. If someone regrets losing you, that's their lesson. If someone reaches out again, you can respond with wisdom instead of emotion. And if they never come back, you still win because your victory was never supposed to be measured by someone else's decision. It was always supposed to be measured by your own transformation. Remember the title of this journey: She Lost a King, but you gained your empire. Notice the difference. Her story is about losing, yours is about building. Her decision belongs to the past, your future belongs to you. Never allow one chapter to convince you the book is finished. Some of the greatest stories ever written begin after everything appears to fall apart. So walk forward with your head high. Protect your peace, guard your standards, continue building your purpose with patience, discipline, and quiet confidence. Because the greatest revenge isn't making someone regret losing you. The greatest victory is becoming so strong, so fulfilled, and so unstoppable that your happiness no longer depends on anyone else's choices. And when that day arrives, you'll realize the comeback was never about getting someone back. It was always about getting yourself back and discovering that the man you became was worth far more than the relationship you lost.